Welcome to Rent or Die, the podcast where we break down the truth about real estate, property management, and building wealth. Whether you're a seasoned investor, an apartment building owner, or maybe you're thinking about getting into rental real estate, we've got the insights to help you win in the rental game. Thanks for tuning in. Let's jump into today's episode. All right. Let's talk about what are we going to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen? I actually have a lot of things I'd like to talk about. I don't know what's the best topic here. All I could say is that why don't we talk about evictions? How about that? So sometimes, things don't go as they should, and sometimes, you might rent to a tenant who, for whatever reason, you decided to rent to them. Maybe they everything was going great for them, and they were employed and they were making money, and something happened in their life, and that's no longer the case, right? So I'll talk to you about DuPage County. I won't get into the residential landlord tenant ordinance that went into effect for Cook County landlords a couple years back now. I think it was a couple years back in I think it was May, June, or July. Cook County came up with the residential landlord tenant ordinance, RLTO. And holy smokes, you guys, if you own an apartment in Cook County, apartment building, it's like there's a lot of things that happen in favor of the tenants that go against landlords. And so it just kind of is what it is. And I think, sadly, you've got a lot of people who are renting apartments that are doing the right thing. They're certainly not intending to do the wrong thing, right? And so I think these laws sometimes come into effect because I've heard some horror stories with tenants in Chicago and the limits of the city limits of Chicago, where the landlord bought a building and they don't even respond to the tenant at all. And the tenants are like, hey, I'm not going to do all these repairs on this building. I'm just renting. In some cases, I've even heard of landlord, their property manager, not even like going to the property. I mean, it's just incredible. So anyway, Cook County has that RLTO, which is really tough for those landlords who were doing the right thing out there. I mean, I think you can't even charge late fees like of more than $10 or something like that. So with rents being kind of higher, it's kind of like, you want some sort of like penalty. I don't know, I forget what it is. But check that out, RLTO, if you haven't. And if you want to sell a building in Cook County and maybe do a 1031 exchange to DuPage County, reach out. Certainly, I'd argue that now's a good time to sell buildings in Cook County anyway. Because taxes are not going down, ladies and gentlemen. They're only going up, seemingly. So anyway, okay, talking about DuPage County, let's say you rented to a tenant, their situation changed, and now you're scratching your head like, okay, well, what do I do now? Well, you could call us, because we're property managers, and not have to deal with this, especially if you own a lot of buildings and you've built up a good portfolio. Like, don't you deserve to have a little bit of time to yourself and without being constantly disturbed by tenants, that type of thing? Um, so I won't get into all the good reasons for you to sell and the benefits of property management. Just talk some eviction stuff. So, okay, so tenants in there, they don't pay rent. What do? You give them a 5-day notice. Real simple, okay? Usually there's a 5-day grace period. Now you're like, let's say it's their first month, right? And it's the 6th of the month, and you're like, where's my rent at? You might just reach out to them and be like, hey, what's going on with the rent? And you might find out, that they moved and something changed, and there's a fraud alert, something totally legitimate, and you're just like, all right, give me my money. I need to pay my mortgage, right? Or give me my money because it's my money, whatever the case is, wherever you are on this landlord journey. But let's say it's, 3 years later, and it's been late every month, and now it's like, the 15th of the month. So all I'm just saying is, these landlord tenant relationships are that they're just that they're relationships. They're not sprints usually. They're marathons or they're short journeys. And so you want to maintain that business relationship the best you can. The best way to do that, though, is with the property manager. I'll keep saying that. So we keep it just business. All right, I'm going to stop now. Okay. But yeah. So hopefully the tenant pays you. You give them a 5-day notice. You list the occupants of the unit and you serve them their 5-day notice. Hopefully that goes smoothly. I will say on a lot of times it's best just to get an attorney to fill out the 5-day notice and make sure that it's like all updated, or have the attorney make you a template, and then make sure that you don't just simply abandon your attorney, because you finally you got what you needed. You want to make sure that you get that updated regularly and have them review it from time to time, especially if you're dealing with a volume of units. So anyway, and you might need that attorney to help you out in an eviction, that type of thing. So whenever you get this template, though, you want to make sure that you check, of course, you write down all the people's names, the adults who live there, and then you check unknown occupants, to make sure that there's no surprises come eviction day when the sheriff goes out there or whatever, and you find out that somebody who's not party to your eviction proceeding is actually living there, so you haven't kicked out everybody. So that's why the or unknown occupants is important. Um, so yeah, so you go there. There's a lot of ways to go about doing this. You could have hire a process server to serve them. You could ask your property manager to serve them. You could. The trick is you want to make sure that it's done properly and you get service on the people, so they're not like professional tenants. Because I'll be honest with you, I've waited outside of places for people and I've hunted people to serve them. I remember in one case, like I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and I was already waiting to like just get some indication of life, and then the car was in the driveway, and so I went to the gas station to go to the bathroom real quick. I come right back, the car's gone. I'm like, they're running counter surveillance operations on me. Um, so so yeah, I mean, you want to make sure that you get it done right the first time, and that way it doesn't elongate the process at all. And get it, you can get the service on the people. Then what happens is, you I won't get into some of the nuances about collecting money while that notice exists, or partial payments, because there's some variability there county to county. But I'll just say, one and done is the way to go. And you have the attorney file for the eviction at the county courthouse, and then it's time to now serve the tenant the notice of the court date, right? Now, usually this one is more important. It's usually done by a process server, um, or a sheriff, or somebody who can, put up their right hand in court and swear that they made that service and that type of thing. So usually you want to go pro in that case. So not the property manager in that case, but the property manager certainly is helpful initially, right, to get it done. And so then you serve the tenant notice. They come to court. Uh, if you're successful as the landlord, you have a good case, and you're not defeated on something that you did wrong previously. Then the person's name will end up on a list to for the sheriff to evict them. You were victorious. Sometimes at court it's negotiated, like a negotiated settlement of, they argue about the rent that's owed or whatever the case is. And sometimes it's a clean sweep and you just get all your money, and you get a judgment, for in order for possession. So yeah, that's one way to an eviction. Now, before I go here, I just want to say there's other types of notice. You have a 10-day notice for violation of a lease term. So I'll give you an example. If you these are sometimes a little bit tougher to prove, like um, the tenant smoking. You told them no smoking. They signed on the lease. I'm not going to smoke. Or they have a pet. I'm not going to have a pet. And then they have, a pet. And all of a sudden you have like a pit bull in the building. Or, okay, I'm not being a hater on the breeds. I'm giving an example. Okay, it's just an example. Please don't go crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Um, uh, yeah. So maybe let's just stick with smoking. Okay, you said no smoking. Now they're smoking, and so you talk to the attorney and you're like, okay, you give the 10-day notice to the tenant saying that they're violating a lease term, and if at the end of the 10 days the situation continues, then you can file for eviction and sue them for possession again. All of this stuff needs to be. I'm giving you my layman's opinion. I am not attempting in any way to provide legal advice. I'm just sharing with you my experiences that I've seen as a property manager. And then from there, yeah, it goes through kind of the same process. You have your day in court. They end up on a list, or that type of thing. Hopefully, you can reach an agreement prior to all that happening for something like a lease term. I mean, geez, and that type of thing. So yeah, so then the last one is a 30 days notice, which is a way to get your unit back. And so a 30 days notice, and if you think about like January, right? January 31st, there's 31 days. So if you come on January 1st and you think you're giving them notice for February 1st, you're wrong. And here's why: because that notice must come on the last day of the preceding month. So if you want your possession on February 1st, then you have to give them notice by December 31st, right? New Year's Eve. Um, Hopefully you do it a little sooner and you're not spending New Year's Eve doing your apartments, but hire a property manager, we'll come. You deserve to have New Year's Eve off. I'll work it. No. But it has to come the day before, so to get that credit, because otherwise, when you serve for January, you're actually attempting to get your apartment back for March 1st. So it's these little nuances in the law and the rules and stuff like that. If you misstep, good luck to you, because you're going to be repeating the whole process from scratch. If you get something wrong, you have to be smart and handle things in a logical way, afford people their rights and due process or whatever, and that's the scoop there. So, all right, talk soon. Good luck, everybody. If you have a chance to like and subscribe, it's appreciated. And our website is westmontrealty.com, so check that out if you would. Again, westmontrealty.com. We sell, lease everywhere, but I want to dominate in at least a town, so that's why westmontrealty.com. I still think a lot of our old clients and friends are going to hire us, believe it or not, because we've been pretty good to them. So again, like, subscribe, it's all appreciated. And we'll be seeing you guys. Thanks so much. All right, that's it for this episode of Rent or Die. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who needs to hear this. Got a wild landlord or tenant story? Hit me up. I'd love to feature it on the show. You can email it to vetshopcustomercare@gmail.com. Again, that's vetshopcustomercare@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.